Hi, this is Tom, and in the next 5 minutes I want to give you some secrets that I learned on the farm 35, 40 years ago where I grew up, and I hope these help you in your life every day because I know they help me in mine. Welcome to this week's Thrive in 5. This week I'm going to be talking about farm sense, and farm sense is really something I learned on the farm. I grew up on the farm. I spent a lot of summers helping out on friends' farms. I eventually married Becky, who is one of the girls who was part of the farm that I did a lot of work on. And farm sense is something that I continue to see as being missing in a lot of people. And I hope this particular lesson, this Thrive in 5, helps you to thrive, because these lessons that I learned on the farm are ones that I see missing in so many people, and I hope that just by explaining them to you, you get a sense of why they're valuable. See, on the farm, things are happening all the time, and not just as it relates to growing things and crops and cattle and animals and all those kind of things, but there's ever-present flow of things that need to be done. And when you grow up on the farm, one of the things you're taught is farm sense, and farm sense often is not taught explicitly, but it's learned just by being part of it. And I want to explain this to you because once you get it, I think it can help you a lot. And I really see it as four primary aspects, and I'm going to start at the bottom. When you work on a farm, one of the things you have to always do is be present. Presence is critically important. You've got to be in the moment. You can't be sort of living in your imagination off in some other place. You've got to be, when work is happening and when you're working with other people, you've got to be present in those moments. You've got to be connected to what's happening right now, right here, today. And without that, you can get out of touch. Second thing is to be aware. So it's one thing to be present, so I'm here in this present moment. The second thing is to be aware of what's going on around you. What's happening around you is giving you lessons. And I see this so often in parking lots here in California, as people miss farm sense because they're not aware. I don't think they're present. They're stuck on their cell phones, looking at their cell phones, and they're backing up in a parking lot and they're not aware. There's a lack of recognition sometimes that other things are going on in their environment. And so awareness is that ability to see what are all the things in my periphery, in the view that I have. Am I willing to extend my view differently so that I've got a full awareness of what's happening in my environment? And on the farm, if you're not doing that, you get run over, you hit things, you make mistakes. And I think we do in life, but this is something I learned on the farm. Be aware of what's going on around you. Be aware so that you can then do the next thing, which is anticipate the next move. And the anticipation is not just always what you're going to do, it's what somebody else is going to do. It's an awareness of, if I do this thing based on what's happening, then this might occur. And that anticipation is both for yourself, what do I need to do, and what might somebody else do. The final thing that comes out of this is to act appropriately, because if you're present, if you're aware of what's going on, if you anticipate what might happen, then you're able to act appropriate to that moment. And really, when you understand that dynamic, then you have the ability, based on what happens, to learn better, based on your experience, to adjust how you respond to things or adapt. And all of those things are part of this cycle that's always occurring. A couple of weeks ago, while I was on vacation, I had the opportunity to go back and spend a morning with many of the group of men who I worked for 30 plus years ago. And what was really interesting to me was to walk back into that environment after being away from it so long, to spend a morning working on the farm with some of these men who taught me so much stuff. And what I noticed almost instantly is there was not a lot of conversation. This group of brothers who ran the farms, who one of them is now my father-in-law, it's actually really intriguing to watch. And what was cool to me was the ability to immediately, as I stood in that environment 35 years out, I attempted to, as very clearly as possible, get present. What's going on, what's happening, what's occurring in my environment, and then anticipated where I was going to fit in, and then acted appropriately. And what is so cool about that is when it happens, it feels like you're in the moment and good things happen and you're getting good results, and that's farm sense. And so for you, what I hope for you is this little lesson is really about stopping yourself in whatever you're doing. If you're driving into a parking lot, be present in the driving into the parking lot instead of doing something else. Instead of thinking about your list, think about where you are. Look for what's occurring in your environment. Be aware of all the different things. I see this in the way people pull into a parking lot. They cut the corner because there's a lack of awareness of what's going to happen if they don't. So instead of actually giving themselves enough room to get around and park appropriately, there's a corner that's cut. And it's really an issue of awareness, anticipating what might happen if you cut that corner. And so this process is one that I think can be so incredibly valuable to you. I know how much it's helped me in my life, and I hope just by sharing it, you will now engage your own sense of being on the farm. We'll talk to you next time.